I would ask you to pray with me. There is no part of life you do not touch, O God, infusing your rich fragrance, gritty and real, getting in underneath the surface, drawing out and lifting up, winding love around until defenses are lowered, barriers broken down, and the power of your love reveals the beauty you intended for all your children. May our actions draw attention to you, to the richness you bring to all life, and the abundance you share, setting the scene for us to share too. And the people of God say, oh, they can say it better. And the people of God say, amen. Okay. Who are you? Seems like a funny question, but how would or do you answer when someone asks you that question? The most common answer would be to give your name. I'm Jamie, or John, or Sue, or Daniel. Or maybe we would give descriptors that help us view ourselves. So often these descriptors include relationships or roles that we play. I might say, I'm a mother, a wife, a sister, a grandmother, a friend, member of a congregation. And maybe you're a father, or a brother, or a fishing buddy, or a golfer, or a ski enthusiast. We might even include a bit of family history. So little Sally might say, I'm Sally, and my family likes the fair, and I got the biggest cotton candy stick. Or we might hear, I belong to the Grissom family, and we come to CTK together every Sunday since we moved here in March. Often, we'll tell something about our work or the things that occupy our time. Research shows that Americans especially identify themselves this way. So someone might say, I'm a banker, or I volunteer 3 times a week at Dorcas Ministry. Or I might say, I'm a student who is also a vicar at CTK. These are all common ways to answer this question. But I cannot think of a single time when I answered by saying, oh, I'm the salt of the earth. I'm the light of the world. How about you? Have you ever answered that way? I bet not. And I can only imagine the looks you would get if you had. If we haven't said it aloud, though, have we ever thought about ourselves that way? Because we need to know this about ourselves, just as Jesus knew this about us, and most certainly told us that we, as his disciples, all of us, everyone here, were the salt of the earth and the light of the world. This is his purpose for each of our lives, just as he had for each person that was listening in the crowd that had followed him from Galilee. These followers had come from 10 cities known as the Decapolis, Jerusalem, Judea, and the Jordan. So really, they had come from everywhere to hear Jesus, to listen and learn, to be healed, and to gain meaning and purpose. Now, you and I are part of that crowd. We come together to experience Jesus, to hear the good news, to listen, to learn, and to gain purpose and direction in life. And Jesus' words are as applicable today as they were 2,000 years ago. You are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. But Jesus doesn't stop there, because there are profound implications to being named the salt of the earth and the light of the world. We are to flavor the world, seasoning and transforming human activity in such a way that it reveals God in this world, today, now. Christ has given us the salt and light of his divinity, not just for ourselves, but that others might eat and see better. So why did Jesus use this metaphor of salt and light? Why not motivate us by saying, "You are the eagles of the world, go and soar"? Well, we need to understand these references to the salt that seasons the earth and the light that we are to bring to the world with the gifts he has given and how they're supposed to fill our lives. To his disciples, Jesus was and is giving the key to a great life, being a healer rather than always being healed, being a giver rather than always receiving. He wants to really know who we are as children of God and who we are as his faithful followers. Now, we have to understand that 2,000 years ago, salt was an important commodity. It has unique characteristics and is enormously influential. All life requires salt, but your doctor's going to say, not too much. But it regulates your fluids in your body. Roman soldiers were often paid in salt and would revolt if they didn't get their ration. Our English word salary, by the way, comes from the Latin salarium, which means salt money. In the ancient world, salt was the primary preservative. In a world with no refrigeration, lots of mold. Today, Christ's believers need to help preserve this world by bringing the good news and seeking to protect society from evil through their social action, through developing schools and hospitals, through being involved in the ministries around them. Christians are to be a deterrent to the moral and spiritual deterioration and decay in the world around us. Salt was used to heal wounds and as a fertilizer. Salt is a flavoring, and flavoring the world adds zest to life. Why, we are told in Job 6:6, can something tasteless be eaten without salt? Jesus tells Christians to be the flavor and taste of his love to an otherwise insipid world. But salt remains useless if it remains in the shaker. Likewise, the saltiness given to us by Christ is useless if it is never dispensed beyond the confines of this church building. Christian salt needs to be rubbed into the secular community as salt is rubbed into meat to preserve and flavor it. Now, Jesus also tells us we are the light of the world. While Jesus is the real light, and we know that, he has given us light in him, and we can reflect his light upon a dark world. Now, people in the ancient world probably place more emphasis on this metaphor, so we're going to close our eyes for a minute. Just do it. And now imagine searching for your clothes to get dressed, to have things match. Where did you put them? In this darkness. Okay, you can open your eyes now. So light's worth is being visible and making the world around the light visible. Just as a city on a hill was visible in Jesus' time, we can think of the pictures from space that reveal the huge, light-filled cities at night. And certainly, we don't hide light under a basket. Light has a natural need to be displayed if it is to have a purpose. Our light is to so shine that it reveals grace, love, and hope through our words of witness and our actions that display the caring and compassion of Christ. Like turning on a light in a darkened room, we are to reveal the presence of Christ at work in this world. Now, as a child, Robert Louis Stevenson sometimes had a lot of illness, and so he had a bout. And when he was sick, he would sit pressed against a window, watching the out of doors. Now, it was really cold one night, and he still had his nose pressed against the window. intently watching something. So his nurse tried to get him to come away. She was afraid he would get worse, but he resisted because he was watching an old lamplighter, kind of like when we light candles, an old lamplighter slowly moving along, lighting each street lamp. Suddenly he said, "Look, there's a man poking holes in the darkness." That is what we are called to do. Poke holes in the darkness through which the light, love, and hope can shine. Now we must each find where the salt and light are in our life. I believe that we are all looking for the salt and light within us. It is not external. It's not found in profit, but it's found in purpose residing within, and means the things we do are of real value to others. Relationships have meaning. And when we look at another and look into their eyes, we should be speaking a kind word and acknowledge that this person has been made in the image of God, as all people are. Try that with someone you have inadvertently labeled as a panhandler, or a welfare mother, or a gang kid. Might change your image. That saltiness can be tasted, and the light reveals the image of God. Those qualities of light and salt need to be with us when we start a conversation or build a relationship, even when feeling indifferent or put off. They infuse the generosity of time, of compassion, and resources that can make a difference in the lives of the poor, the homeless, the lonely, the marginalized. They form the basis of our careful listening and giving of time to those around us. We are led to pray for self and others, even those with whom we disagree, by whom we have been hurt, and those that seem so very different. Salt and light lead to that life of purpose that is self-giving rather than acquiring, that is vulnerable rather than defensive, that is intimate rather than isolated. It is a life in which you might, and you probably will, be hurt because you love God, your quarrelsome neighbor, your enemy, and yourself. And guess what? These are all choices that can be embraced by all of us. To live as the salt of the earth and the light of the world is for each of us to know our deepest, truest, and most authentic self. It is the life of purpose that we long for and the life God desires us to have. It is both who we are and how we are to be. And there are as many expressions and manifestations of salt and light as there are people. That is why Jesus is so adamant that we not lose our saltiness and that we not hide our light. To do so would be to lose and hide our life. Salt that has no flavor and light that is hidden are worthless. They are not really themselves. When you say, "Pass the salt, please," you expect your food to change. When you flip a light switch, you expect a room to be illuminated. If we are salt and light, we should be tasted and seen by the world. So some of you are going to tell me, "Oh no, this is too much. How will we do all these things and live this way? God has given us a momentous task." Well, Tony Campolo, a well-known theologian, told a story about a friend of his who was walking through the midway of the county fair. Now, remember that little girl with the cotton candy at the beginning of this sermon? His friend ran into her. She was so little with a big fluff of cotton candy on a stick almost hiding the top of her body. So he said to her, "How can a little girl like you eat all that cotton candy?" "Well," she told him, "I'm really much bigger on the inside than I am on the outside." That is essentially what Jesus is saying here and declaring what already is. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. Why? Jesus would say, because you belong to me. On the inside, you are as big as the kingdom and the power and the glory of God, which I am pouring through you. You can make a difference. I think Jesus is saying, behold the salt that you already are. Behold the light that you already are. Become that for the life of the world. Let them see and taste you. And the people of God say, Amen.